Now we will directly proceed with our next panel. So our next panel is Access to Global Markets and Trade Areas. We have Professor Dr. Kerem Alkin for moderator. He is the ambassador and permanent representative to the OECD. As panelists, we will have Mr. Abdujabbar Al-Sayeh, chairperson of Al-Sayeh Brothers Trading from United Arab Emirates, Yenal Gökyıldırım, CEO of Flow Türkiye, Harun Kalla, director of Amka Products from South Africa, Dr. Ceyhun Emre Doğru, managing partner of Corpera Türkiye, Mr. Al-Muhavzain, co-founder and CEO of Dinar Group, and Dr. Nadia Chiaib, chairperson of Kling Group from Lebanon. I would like to invite them to the technical desk if they still don't have their headsets. And in the meantime, we will have 3 keynote speakers, which I would like to start. Yes, please. What do you want us to say? Maybe for a headset you can. For the keynote speakers, I would like to invite Mr. Barton Bokay, Hungary's Deputy State Secretary. Afterwards, we will invite Mr. Mustafa Tuzcu, Turkey's Deputy Trade Minister, and Fikrim Damka, Kosovo's Minister of Regional Development. I will be kindly inviting them on stage, but we would like to proceed and start with Mr. Barton Bokay, Hungary's Deputy State Secretary. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Is it working? Can I start? Okay. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, dear Minister, Deputy Ministers, distinguished guests. First of all, I would like to thank you for organizers for the invitation. It is my honor to be here today and represent the Ministry for Economic Development of Hungary. Looking back in time, we saw the dominance of Western countries in the world economy for a long time. The Western world had a competitive advantage in several old industry sectors, but now that era seems to be over. What we see now is that Europe is lagging behind in what we call the new industry, such as electric cars, 5G, robotics, or AI. And it seems that they are slow to adapt to new trends. The situation in Europe is further complicated by the war between Russia and Ukraine in our neighborhood, which is intensifying the process of separating certain countries from one another due to international sanctions. We are therefore hearing more and more about decoupling and de-risking or technology autonomy, which means nothing more than isolating the economies of the West and the East from each other. Our theory is quite the opposite. By opening up to the east, we are creating a balance as we believe we were too dependent on the Western countries until now. In other words, now we are diversifying our economy. The proponents of interconnectivity, including Hungary, as a small open economy, reject the pro-bloc policy. Our goal is to make Hungary a meeting point of Eastern and Western economies and technologies. In 2010, the ratio of Western investments in Hungary was well above 90%, but today only 66% of foreign direct investments come from the West and 34% from the East. This development clearly demonstrates that the Hungarian government's opening to the East policy is a success. The strategy is beneficial for us for three reasons. First, the ratio of Hungarian export to GDP will be around 100% by 2030, and FDI is skyrocketing while new annual flows exceeding 10 billion euros, so the current stock of 100 billion euros of FDI could easily be doubled by 2030. Hungary is ranked 11th in the world and 6th in the EU in terms of complexity of its export products, which means that overall we have an even stronger economy and we can continue to converge towards the EU average level of development. As a small open economy, Hungary has to make the best use of FDI inflows. Therefore, the second benefit at the micro level is the horizontal and vertical multiplier effect of FDI. The horizontal effect is research and development, joint ventures and universities, science parks, while the vertical effect is the emergence of Hungarian suppliers in the acquisition of higher and higher position in the supply chain. The key to the rise of Hungarian-owned companies is to be able to link into supply chains of foreign factories setting up their business in Hungary. The third benefit is the increased logistic opportunities. More trade means more logistics. As Hungary is situated in the center of Europe, its location for connectivity purpose is excellent. It is also supported by excellent infrastructure. Highway motor density means that most parts of the country can be reached by a motorway within an hour. Logistics and transport currently account for 5% of the GDP, and we aim to increase it to 10%. To achieve this, the Hungarian government is committed to expand its logistics and transportation infrastructure, which will result in developing not only the industrial parks and surroundings, but also the whole country. These three advantages are very recognized, but there are also three preconditions for the economic strategy. We must constantly meet the operational requirements of foreign investments. Firstly, to ensure cheap and sufficient electricity. Secondly, to ensure sufficient and competitive workforce. And thirdly, to create good quality infrastructure. These three tasks are the most pressing homework for the Hungarian government, because if we fulfill these duties, we will also succeed in preserving and even strengthening our access to global markets. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much to Marton Bokay from Hungary's Deputy State Secretary, who is. Now I would like to kindly invite on stage Mr. Mustafa Tuzcu, Turkey's Deputy Trade Minister, for his opening speech.
Good afternoon, all. Honorable Minister, distinguished guests, it's a great pleasure to be here with you today for this very valuable occasion, which lasts for almost 15 years with a huge success and contributes to the international cooperation. Unfortunately, this meeting is taking place in a very tragic moment, where civilians are being killed in Gaza. We condemn and reject Israeli attacks targeting the civilians, and we want to register here that we stand with the Palestinian people and will continue to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. Today I'm going to share with you my views about the new architecture of global trade, and I will discuss the new access path to the global markets, which is the title, the theme of this panel. Beginning with the 2008 financial crisis, the world economy and trade faced multiple shocks in diverse nature. As you know, global financial turbulences instabilities in our region, protectionism, and trade tensions, especially between the large economic blocs, put extra pressures on our global trade and economy. In addition, this food and energy price instabilities and also climate changes also pose pressure to our global trade. In this context, we are in a cycle of slowing down in global world trade and also in economy. Just one figure speaks for this. The world GDP increased only by 33% in last 10 years, while the total GDP growth before in the previous decade was around 116%. In addition to this, we also have witnessed a sharp decline in the FDI since 2017. That is to say, the picture for global economy is quite gloomy, as you observe. Distinguished guests, in the face of this global turmoil, the developing and the least developed countries are among the most vulnerable economies. Since there is an urgent need for green and digital transformation, the challenges are more severe for developing world, and this may create additional dangers in terms of global stability. On the other hand, we see that international organizations and platforms, unfortunately, are in a crisis and unable to address solutions to this fragile situation. Under these circumstances, we are going through a reconsideration of the globalization process and the functioning of the global value chains. Now, there are new and untraditional concepts at the heart of trade policies. You are hearing very often recently, we have now new concepts like economic security, strategic autonomy, reshoring, friendshoring, carbon adjustment, and sustainability. These are new concepts introduced among the key concepts of trade policies. This new framework for trade policies has direct implication with regard to global market access conditions and also international trade agreements. The most important of these is now the green transformation process and sustainability, of course. But in this approach, decarbonization, increasing energy efficiency, promoting the use of renewable energy, critical minerals, and circularity are becoming central concepts in global trade. As you well know, the European Union is leading green transformation efforts and also has their net zero industrial law. In addition to this, also the US has its Inflation Reduction Act. It urges the other countries to take their own policies on this. And there is also a technology and competitiveness race in the world with direct market access effects. Secondly, the concept of fair competition is also getting more and more attention within the international trading system. The issues related to subsidies in the industrial field and labor standards will also dominate our future discussions. Another issue of direct impact on global market access is the logistics and, of course, the connectivity. The importance of logistics with respect to smooth functioning of global value chains and supply security has been thoroughly observed during the pandemic and, of course, during the war in Ukraine. In fact, logistics may become so important in terms of delivery times and costs and can directly affect the competitiveness in the market. For improving the efficiency of logistics, the concept of international transit corridors appears as a global and regional priority in international cooperation. We are closely following the development road in Iraq and also the One Belt and One Road initiative of China. So we see these concepts are going to be more central in the trade discussions. For effective functioning of these corridors, the infrastructure standards, enhanced customs, effective intermodal transportations are also necessary. Last but not least, the experience of supply chain disruptions has also brought the concept of strategic autonomy into our economic policies. As you know, countries now increasingly starting to develop their strategies to reduce their over-reliance on imports, especially in critical goods. Distinguished guests, I'd like to note that Turkey does not consider trade as a zero-sum game. The main objective of our trade policy is promoting economic growth and prosperity on a fair basis. Within this understanding, we are constantly adjusting our policies according to global conditions, and we are working closely with the different continents, with the different geographies of the world. Along with the European Union, which is our main trading partner with our customs union, we also attach great importance to develop our partnerships within the global and regional organizations for strengthening our economic ties with the developing world. In this regard, we implement multiple mechanisms to strengthen our ties with Africa, Middle East, and CIS regions. On the other hand, we continue our strategies of far countries to increase mutual prosperity with the geographically distant countries. In addition, we are also working constantly to widen our free trade network through comprehensive and balanced free trade agreements. Turkey also attaches great importance to ensuring the efficiency of its trade corridors. In this regard, we have been making serious investments in transportation infrastructure for a long while. Baku-Tbilisi Kars and Marmara railway lines, as well as the new bridge over Bosphorus and Çanakkale Straits, have been strategic investments in that regard. It can change the paradigm in international trade and logistics. You can see that these investments are not only affecting the trade in Turkey, it also contributes to a broader geography and provides more opportunities for international traders. On the other hand, the modernization and improving connectivity of our ports through railways and road transportation network also results in an increase in the amount of cargo handling capacity of our country. Lastly, we consider the twin transformation process, green and digital, as a driving force and opportunity to develop our country's production infrastructure and move our place in global value chains to higher levels. Distinguished guests, structural solutions to our problems should only be provided by global efforts. So individual efforts only can cure in a very temporary period, so cannot be a permanent solution to our global problems. For this purpose, in the face of pressing global problems, Turkey is intensively working with the partners and with all international platforms to develop cures to persistent global problems. We should be reminded that the globalization is not over, but it is only changing shape. International trade has now become part of much broader, larger area, and also the global market access now intertwined with a wide range of complex and pressing global issues. Therefore, we need responsive trade policy. We need also inclusive trade policies, international trade agreements, and we should bring our agreements to the benefits for all, not only for a limited ones, for all, for free and fair trade while addressing these global issues. We need to redouble our international dialogue and cooperation. In this direction, I believe that our discussion today and the other discussions that are going to take place tomorrow at the city of Istanbul, where the continents and their trade routes meet, is a clear indication that Turkey lies at the heart of the global cooperation and solutions. With this, I'd like to thank you for being here today and listening to me, and wish you a very productive panel discussion.
Thank you very much to Mr. Tuzcu. And lastly, we have our final keynote speech from Mr. Fikrim Damka, Kosovo's Minister of Regional Development. And afterwards, I will leave to the professor to take over. Thank you.
Sayın Bakan Yardımcım, değerli katılımcılar, kıymetli panelistler, sizi çok bekletmemek açısından çok hızlı ve kısa olacağım. İlk önce böyle bir panelin düzenlenmesinde katkısı olan herkesi tebrik ediyorum. Bizim burada da olmamız için davet ettiklerinden dolayı teşekkür ediyorum. Gerçekleşen bu oturumuna dikkat çekmek ve nacizane birkaç cümleyle fikirlerimi ifade etmek adına açılış konuşmacı olarak davet edildiğim için bir kez daha şükranlarımı sunuyorum. Küresel pazarlara ve ticari alanlara erişim konulu bu panelin değerli görüşlerinize fark yaratan bir panel olmasını da diliyorum. İç pazar odaklı ekonomilerin kaybettiği soğuk savaş döneminden radikal kotalı ticaret savaşlarının yaşandığı milli endeksli ekonomilere kadar küreselleşme ve yeni ticaret alanları cazibe merkezi haline geldi. Tarihin tozlu sayfalarında kalan bu dönemlerin sadece hatırlatmakta yetiniyor. 21. yüzyılın ortalarına doğru yaklaşırken siyasi ekonominin küresel bazda ülkeleri ve şirketleri değişik alanlara yönelttiğini gözlemliyoruz. 20. yüzyılın sonlarında konuştuğumuz Çin, Soğuk Savaş dönemi ardından şekillenen liberal ve küresel ekonomileri ve onların yeni aktörleri, Avrupa'nın tek pazar halini almasıyla birlikte Uzak Doğu ve Batı arasında küresel ve ticari bir masa tenisi oyunu gibi ekonomik savaşlarla şekillenen yeni bir dünya düzenine adımımızı atmış bulunuyoruz. Bu yeni dünya iktisadi düzeninin en büyük faktörü de internet ve dijitalleşme. Bir yandan başarılı şirketlerimizin dünyaya açılarak küresel hale gelmesi ve yerli üretimimizin dünya pazarlarında tercih edilen ürünler olmasını beklerken, diğer taraftan küresel yatırımcılar için kendi pazarlarımızı cazip hale getirmeye çalışıyoruz. Son yılların yeni dünya düzeni önem atfederken, küresel ve ticari alanlara erişiminin ilk adımını internet ve dijitalleşme üstlenmiş durumundadır. Pandemi döneminin yaralarını sarmaya çalışan bir dünya ekonomisi ve onun akabinde Ukrayna Savaşı bizleri iki önemli mesaj vermiştir. Birincisi, fiziksel olarak geleneksel pazarlama ve ticari yöntemlerinden ziyade küresel ve farklı ticaret alanlarına erişimin internet ve dijitalleşmeyle daha başarılı olabilmesi. İkincisi ise doğal kaynaklar, enerji, gıda güvenliği ve tarımın küresel pazarlarda ve ticari alanlarda erişebilirliği hakkındaki endişelerin giderilmesi ve buna istinaden gelişmiş ve gelişmekte olan ülkenin kendi pazarlarını yönlendirmesi olmuştur. Böylelikle yapacağımız her yatırımın uluslararası piyasalara erişimde devlet olarak imzalayacağımız her uluslararası anlaşmanın, uygulamaya koyacağımız her ticari ve iktisadi politikaların ve yükümlülük olarak üstleneceğimiz her stratejik reformun şirketlerimizin küresel pazarlar ve ticaret alanlarına erişim konusunda ne gibi faydalar sağlayacağını titizlikle irdelememiz gerekmektedir. Nitelikli işçi konusunun gelecek dönemde gündemde olacağı düşüncesiyle Asya'dan Avrupa'ya ve Avrupa içindeki işçi gücünün serbest dolaşımı konusu uzun yıllar tartışılacaktır. Benim ülkem Kosova ise Avrupa coğrafyasında yeni bağımsız bir ülke olarak yerini almasının ardından küresel ekonomik aktörlerin ve Batı Balkanlar olarak adlandırılan bölgede ticaret alanlarının tercih edilen olmaya başlamıştır. Kosova şirketleri siyasi etkenlerden dolayı küresel pazarlar ve ticaret alanlarına erişimde zorluklarla karşı karşıya kalabilse de girişimcilik ve interneti harmanlayarak dış piyasalara adını duyurmaya başarmıştır. Kosova, Balkan bölgesindeki birçok ülkeyi kapsayan Orta Avrupa Serbest Ticaret Anlaşması'nın SEFTA üyesidir. SEFTA, üye devletler arasındaki ticaret ve ekonomik işbirliğini desteklemekle birlikte bölgesel ticari alanlara erişim konusunda sorun yaşamamaktadır. Bununla birlikte Türkiye Cumhuriyeti başta olmak üzere Amerika Birleşik Devletleri ve Avrupa Birliği ile serbest ticaret anlaşmaları imzalamış olması Kosova pazarına erişime ve şirketlerimizin küresel pazara erişimine destek sağlamaktadır. Son dönemlerde Batı Balkanlarda yapılan altyapı yatırımları, Batı Balkanlar Berlin süreciyle öngörülmüş yeni ticari koridorların yapımı ile Selanik Limanı haricinde Arnavutluk'taki Draç Limanı'nın uluslararası sularla bağlantısı sağlanmıştır. Buna göre bölgesel pazarlara erişimde altyapısı tamamlanan otoyollar ve demiryolların limanlar ile bağlantısı tamamlanacaktır. Ticaret alanında ise Kosova'nın da içinde bulunduğu Batı Balkanlar bölgesi pazarının Türkiye ile olan ticari hacmin her geçen yıl arttığını gözlemlemekteyiz. Avrupa Birliği'nin ve Berlin sürecinin Batı Balkanlara yönelik stratejilerindeki bir diğeri ise yenilenebilir enerji kaynaklarının hayata geçirilmesidir. Kosova'nın enerji stratejisi geçen aylarda hükümetimiz tarafından kabul edildi ve bu sayede güneş, rüzgar ve biyoenerji ve şarj edilebilen akü bazlı yenilenebilir enerji kaynaklarının yatırım konusu düzenlenmiş oldu. Geçen hafta kabul edilen Avrupa Birliği Batı Balkanlar yeni büyüme planı ile Kosova ve aday olan diğer Batı Balkan ülkelerine yönelik Avrupa Birliği üyelik öncesi entegrasyonu kapsamaktadır. Buna istinaden Avrupa Birliği'nin tek pazarına kademeli entegrasyonu gerçekleştirmek için bu pazara yönelik erişimi reformlarla sağlamayı hedefliyoruz. Sonuç itibariyle artık dünya tek bir pazar ülke haline gelmiş ve şirketler artık ülke sınırlarını tanımayarak her ülkede kendi faaliyetlerini rahat bir şekilde sürdürmeye doğru gidiyor. Bu panelden çıkacak olan sonuçları titizlikle dinleyeceğiz. Teşekkür ederim. Sağ olun.
Thank you very much to our speakers. I would like to invite them on the stage again. Mr. Cengiz Özgenci, the founder, will be presenting them their catchy letters. We have planted 3 trees on your behalf on a forest. Mr. Tuzcu, please. And also, Mr. Bartoy, is he here? I think we missed him. Thank you.
We would like to thank our keynote speakers once more for their remarks. And I would like to say that after my 2 questions that you would like to answer at the same time, we have 7 minutes for each panelist. I would like to share 1 or 2 remarks, one for Bosphorus Summit, and then for this panel. Then I will begin to give the floor. And I will begin with Al-Sayek, Abdul Jabbar Al-Sayek. But first of all, I would like to share 2 remarks. The first remarks for Bosphorus Summit. I would like to share that I was one of the founders of this organization 14 years ago. And when we set out for the Bosphorus Summit in 2009, our aim was to create a strong dialogue and cooperation platform between the global North and the global South. We wanted to fill a gap as an area of dialogue in the international arena. And in this moment, after all conflicts at the global site, probably it is the most important time to do our best to create more dialogue platforms for the benefits of the planet. Our efforts over the last 14 years have enabled the Bosphorus Summit to become a common brainstorming platform. To common brainstorming platform to find solutions to global issues. So, 2 Black Swan. What is the meaning of Black Swan? Black Swan, as you know, on the global side, we talk about the Black Swan, some kind of a possible risk, but a very few possibility, but suddenly happened, and unfortunately, after happened, it changed all the global agenda or global climate. So that's why all of us, all the world, we lived together one Black Swan global pandemic. It was incredible, also for our personal life. But secondly, the Russian-Ukrainian war, and unfortunately, in this moment, a big humanitarian disaster on the Gaza issue. So these two black swans create a very strong effect on the global trade for too many reasons. I would like to share two questions. The first question is, while the global supply chain is being restructured, how should intercontinental cooperation be restructured, and how should supply from nearby geographies be improved? What could be the advantages and disadvantages of friendshoring and nearshoring? Why I ask this question, if you look the last 2 years of World Trade Organization outlook reports, there is a lot of wording about nearshoring, friendshoring, reshoring, but the latest report of OECD shows that especially there is no big change for nearshoring, friendshoring. So some kind of similar global supply chain mechanism continue, especially between Europe and Asia. So that's why for nearshoring, friendshoring, advantages and disadvantages. Second question, and all of us, we are from our regions, how should Central and Eastern Europe and the Middle East and Gulf regions, Africa, improve cooperation to be more effective in the global supply chain? So we can mix these questions. The floor is yours. So I would like to begin with Abdul Jabbar Al-Sayeh. Please, the floor is yours.
First of all, thank you for inviting us to this important forum, and to be able to meet others and to participate with them in trying to find whatever solutions that we can find to improve logistics as well as economies between neighbors. I would like to probably answer your questions first, talking of nearshoring, and the idea is of nearshoring is relocating basically manufacturing services, etc., from one place to the other place. So if, for instance, I take an example like Saudi Arabia, for instance, with their hydrocarbon industry, and look at the geography around us. What is the nearest place that this nearshoring or friendshoring is effective? I would say, for instance, Egypt, which is basically a Red Sea crossing. With that, the Saudi can relocate refining, they can relocate manufacturing of many carbon-related industry to Egypt. Egypt would offer a very cheap labor, very talented, skilled labor. It will improve the supply chain because it would go through a pipeline to the Mediterranean, from there to Europe very fast, rather than going through the canal, the Suez Canal or the Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, very long delays, etc., unstable. For this, of course, you need a politically stable region. And I can see countries like Saudi Arabia is a very politically stable nation, economically is well developed. Egypt, on the other side, is a politically stable country, yet it needs a lot of help for improving its economy, its supply chains to the rest of the world. So Europe can relocate a lot of things to Egypt, to Turkey, from Turkey to the Gulf region, and Turkey has the labor force, it has the talent, it has the land, and it can definitely add a lot of value to our supply chains. If we want to talk about Africa, Africa has a lot of resources, from mineral to agriculture to long shores full of, full of wealth like fisheries, etc., and deprived people. They are jumping into boats, trying to flee their nations, and they know the chances of being alive to the other side is very slim, but yet they do it. Why? Because of desperation. If we do this nearshoring, friendly shoring, etc., all these kind of things together, we can help this community economically stabilize, people stay where they are, they flourish, and they create a better world with no hatred, with no economic crisis, with good educations, as His Excellency the Sultan of Darfur this morning in his speech gave some example that they have minerals, gold, I don't know, lithiums, oil, agriculture, etc. Yet there is a lot of poverty. He talks about feedstock, animals. And we in the Gulf regions, in the GCC, we require a lot of import of meat. We bring from Australia, which is the end of the world. We bring from Argentina. We bring from Chile. Well, therefore, it's just a stone throw away, So we can do that. So there is a lot of opportunity that can be done. This is what I can say. I don't know if I can if I have answered your questions or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a good start with you.
Thank you.
So I would like to continue with Yanal Gökyıldırım because he is a CEO of too many company in Turkey, some kind of a global side of the country. So that's why he has a very important experience about all these global trade issues. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor. Thanks for having me here in this such a unique forum. Indeed, I would like to answer your questions from a best practice point of view, from a company which I belong to. I'm proud of being the leader of the company. So we are operating currently in over 30 countries directly and then over 75 countries indirectly. So therefore, I just would like to explain a little bit how we established this model, which is quite complex, but then in the meantime, the complexity brings a unique opportunity to compete in our field. So Flow is the vertically integrated shoe retailer, but then that's not only retailer. I'll try to explain how we are operating in this complex environment. We are running our business through multi-channel and multi-branded environment. Besides of this multi-channel and multi-brand environment, so we are also starting from design to prototype, from prototype to production. touching each and every part of our industry. I mean, how we do that? I mean, first of all, I mean, with our Flow retail brand, so we are serving to our customers, all the members of the families, over 500 stores across these 30 countries. But that's not only all the needs of the family households. We do also have a separate retail chain, which is called In-Street. With that one, so we are serving to the new needs of our consumers, where the street fashion and the sport is very much in favor of. So another 200 stores of our network is serving to our customers. Of course, without having an e-commerce, the omni-channel fulfillment will never met. So therefore, we are managing our e-commerce operations through our own sites, plus the marketplaces. But the marketplaces, we are a marketplace. In the meantime, we are connected in 22 countries through different marketplaces to really meet different customer needs. So what then we need to do in the meantime, besides of our channels, we need to come up with strong brands to meet the needs of our consumers. So we have on one hand homegrown brands like Lumberjack, like Kinetics, like Polaris. I mean, these are the brands we developed in our country, and then we managed to export to these 30 countries. But that gives us other opportunity to license some of the international brands like Reebok, Nine West, US Polo, and Dockers. I mean, these are the brands globally known. We are representing them in our country as well as in the neighboring countries. So there we design, develop, and produce those ones. Of course, I mean, the brands and the channels are too important to reach the customers, but then we also need to make sure that we are coming up with the right products. So that gives us also the opportunity to come up with the unique solutions. So we have design centers to come up with these unique solutions. And one of the design centers is in our country, in Turkey. And then next to that, we have another design center in Italy, I mean, where the center of fashion meets. And as well as we have another design center in China. So if you look at all these parameters, I mean, if you look at all these different needs of the consumers, different design centers, we are able to come up with all these designs to meet the needs of over 30 countries. Of course, without the production, this puzzle won't be completed. So we do have our own factory, which is in the Far East, which is in the southeast of the country, in Urfa. Over 2,000 employees are producing daily, and a majority of them are women, and then we are helping also to that part of the geography. It's not only our factory, of course, with all the side industries, we managed to bring all the industry, the shoe industry in that part of the country. We are selling over 57 million pair of shoes a year. So of course, only your factories won't be enough to cover all those needs. So therefore, we are cooperating with over 200 suppliers within our country, and then we are also importing from many different countries. But just to underline, 85% of the products that we are selling are produced in our own country. So that means, I mean, just to answer your questions, offshoring, nearshoring, that's quite a good combination of the production, design, as well as the retailing activities. Maybe just a few words on the globalization. I think that is important for many of the guests here. I think what we have managed over the years, I mean, first we have established quite a strong home operations, and from these home operations we started to export our products to first of all near geographies and then to far geographies, as far as Kazakhstan, as far as Morocco. So of course, I mean, all the neighboring countries are well covered. Just to manage the time well, Professor, I think that is crucial that you should be able to know what your strengths are, and then you should be able to build your competencies around your core areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you. we listened some remarks from United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi first, then Turkey. Now we have an opportunity to listen also from Africa. So I would like to give the floor to Harun Kala to listen maybe the experience from South Africa too. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor. Firstly, let me just say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and may the peace and blessings be upon our beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And also thank you to Shenjes Bey and my dear brother Iqbal Sakrani, Sir Iqbal Sakrani, for inviting me here and to join this very interesting seminar. It's much more interesting than I had expected it to be. If I would indulge myself and answer this more from a philosophical approach, there's a very beautiful book written by Schumacher, I don't know if you know him, Small is Beautiful. And I think all these supply chain issues have happened during COVID, and they were exacerbated by COVID. For example, in South Africa, we found ourselves not having any medicines during COVID, because most of our medicines are imported, almost 80%. And if this very simple German philosopher who wrote about small is beautiful, if we had diversified our manufacturing and created wealth within this many countries, then we would not have experienced any of the supply chain issues. And the big picture in supply chain issues is not just the shortage of goods, but the cost of supply chain has gone up like 400%. For example, we used to pay $2,500 for a container coming from China. It went up to $19,000. So I know, in a very simple example, was a friend of ours was importing toys from China, and he said that the cost of the toys was the same as the freight. And he was in a conundrum, should he import the toys or not? So this is the kind of inequality that happens when you centralize production so to a level where it creates inequality. So the idea of friendshoring and nearshoring, I think is a very brilliant one, and we need to implement that as soon as possible. But there's many benefits of it. The one is creating and enriching people's lives globally, right? And the other is actually reducing our energy footprint. And in terms of the environment, I think we talked earlier many about the climate and the challenges we're going to face in the next 20 years. Now we know that electric cars and all of those are going to be solving a lot of or contributing towards a reduced carbon footprint. But I think nearshoring and friendly shoring is going to contribute much bigger in the bigger picture. I haven't done any exercise, but that I think is very, very critical to the bigger And I think, Shenjes Bey said that he had set up the dinner that we had last night upstairs so we could enjoy the most beautiful city in the world, and I agree with him. Istanbul is the most beautiful city in the world. But I want to share with you, the most exciting continent in the world now is actually Africa. And Africa, geographically, will house the whole of USA, the whole of Japan, the whole of China, the whole of Germany, and many other countries in just the space. It has the same GDP as India today. It has the same population of India. It probably not as, the GDP is not as high as India. India is sitting at about almost 5.8%, but Africa is catching up very quickly. It's almost 4%. Estimated for this year. So I think you know, when a discussion takes place, a global discussion takes place, Africa is going to feature much more critically in the long term, especially now with what we see with the BRICS countries. And that collaboration, I think, is going to change the equilibrium in the world, and possibly will have a more interesting and a more equal world coming through. And I think that the economies of Africa, I think, are in for a huge growth. And we, you know, if I may say so, in Europe must recognize that and must be part of that change and that transformation. And to make a final point, I think that if we look at Africa, Africa has 30% of the world's resources, but only 17% of its population. So the key point for us would be, instead of exporting raw materials from Africa, we should beneficiate those raw materials into finished products. We can also reduce the footprint as well, doing that. So thank you very much for this opportunity. There's lots to say, but benefited a lot from what the two of you have said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kalla. Africa is the rising continent of the 21st century. There is no word. In 2100, Africa will be the 39% of all world population.
Correct.
And our expectation about GDP per capita is kind of between $13.6 thousand to $16,000. So that's why we will definitely will talk a different Africa after 2040. So that's why we have to care about what will be the most interesting part of the rising of Africa together. So I would like to give the floor now to Dr. Ceyhun Emre Doğru. So he will continue to share his experience from Turkey to Global Site.
Thank you. And thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. It's actually a pleasure to be on a panel that is moderated by you with such distinguished guests and with such distinguished participants. So I think to understand how nearshoring and friendshoring is affecting the global order, we first need to understand the context in which the global economic order is functioning right now. And I think most of the people in this room would agree with the argument that the world trade is going through a fundamental paradigm shift, right? So we are not living in the world that we have been living in the past. And maybe we need to describe this fundamental paradigm shift in a way by looking at its key drivers and dynamics. So my statement, my argument today here is that we are making a transition from a world that was defined by hyper-globalization to a world that is more geo-economical. So geoeconomics is the new world order for the many years and maybe decades to come. So what I mean by geoeconomics? But first, before defining what geoeconomics is, I would like to just ask a hypothetical question. Any idea how many times this year, just this year in 2023, S&P 500 companies use the word geopolitics in their annual reports and investor conferences? It's 12,000. So the biggest companies in the world, in their earnings calls, in their annual reports, they use the word geopolitics 12,000 times. So that really gives us an idea how the fragmentation of the world, driven by geopolitics, is really affecting the global world order. So geoeconomics, in very simple terms, is defined by a combination of national security, economic development, and international trade. So once we understand this, that we are making the transition to a geoeconomical world, I think it will provide us a very good context to understand nearshoring and friendshoring. So let's look at the key drivers of the transformation, the fundamental paradigm shift that is taking place right now. Obviously, there are geopolitical tensions and even conflicts, unfortunately, currently going on. one in Central Europe and one in the Middle East. Tragic events are taking place. Of course, this is fundamentally and significantly changing the international investment and trade environment. The second key driver is the US-China tension, trade tensions, right? What is called as decoupling or de-risking. Yesterday, yes, there was a summit, but we are going to see the consequences yet. It's going to be interesting to watch how this geopolitical tensions between the two superpowers, but also between regions, are affecting the investment environments. We know that the states now are more increasingly shaping and regulating the markets. If you look at the regulations that are passed in the European Union, in the United States, they all include certain trade and investment restrictions in critical supplies and critical technologies, right? So this is also a very important dynamic. And the third one is obviously, which was not a geopolitical event by itself, COVID-19 pandemic, but we also know that it also changed how companies are looking at the geopolitical world order. So within this context, and I would like to refer to the remark that you made at the beginning, Mr. Ambassador, regarding the fact that according to your OECD report, there is not much change in the global trade. I was also looking for some data to share with the audience today, and I came across with a survey published by the European Central Bank. They made a research, they made a survey among the European companies, and not looking specifically to the current situation, but what they have been thinking, the CEOs, what they have been thinking in the past 5 years, and what they're thinking in terms of nearshoring and friendshoring for the next 5 years. So let me share some numbers with you. Most of the European companies, as opposed to 5 years ago, are looking to shift their productions to friendshoring, so more friendly, politically and culturally aligned countries. So this just applies for the European companies, of course. And the number is 42%. So the 42% of European companies are saying that we are going to move our production to friendly countries. And this number was 11% just 5 years ago. The second data that I would like to share with you is how and from where they are going to procure their critical supplies, like critical materials. Mr. Deputy Minister earlier mentioned in his speech that he used the word strategic autonomy. The national economies are looking into decreasing their dependencies on critical supplies. Just a footnote, by the way, if you're interested in the subject, I strongly recommend you to have a look at the recently published German national security documents, which introduced the term integrated security concept. And also it talks very much a lot about decreasing Germany's dependency on critical supplies. So coming back to the friendshoring, 44% of European companies are saying that we are going to move our supplies production to friendshoring companies, and this was 9% just 5 years ago. So we are maybe not for the moment. I also had a look at the OECD report. Maybe not currently, but it seems like in the coming years we are going to see a fundamental transformation in terms of supplies and production towards friendly countries. Of course, a part of your question was advantages and disadvantages, and I would like to talk about the disadvantages again based on this data. 60% of the companies are saying that moving production and supplies are increasing the prices of their production and, of course, critical supplies. However, 45% are saying that the increase in prices because of the shift to other countries will be less in the next 5 years. So in a simple terms, probably for the next couple of years, we are going to pay the price of this transformation of the global world order and the transition of production and sourcing centers. But after 5 years, it's going to get maybe more normalized and cheaper. So with that, I would like to thank you all, and love it or hate it, it seems like we are entering the world of geoeconomics. So thank you.
Many thanks for sharing this report. I would like to add another report, could be interesting for all of you, for all the audience. 2 weeks ago, we have a informal reflection group worked for China under OECD, and the European Union chambers for China, the chair, he came and shared with us every half a year special report about the vision of the all European Union companies working in China. So I would like to say that it is also an interesting report. I think you will find interesting the details of this report. And I can say that, yes, there is a trend, but there is a time to see these trends to be reality. So we will continue with Al-Muhab Zaim El-Abden. I'm absolutely sure that he will also share with us some interesting remarks.
Definitely, let me speak in Arabic. It will be more convenient for me. So I would like to say good evening for all of you. في اعتقادي تتضمن إعادة هيكلة التعاون العابر للغارات في سلسلة التوريد العالمية المتطورة، تحسين الخدمات اللوجستية بشكل ظاهر وفعال، تقليل التبعيات اللي ممكن تكون في الاتحادات أو في الحكومات، الاستفادة من التكنولوجيا، وده أهمها ويمكن كلنا شفنا نتائجها الظاهرة الواضحة إذا كان في خلال الأزمات. واحدة من الأزمات اللي احنا مرينا بها كوفيد اللي كان أثرها واضح على كل العالم، لكن يمكن واحدة من الحلول اللي أفادت كل العالم اللي هي كانت التجارة الإلكترونية أو الأونلاين بيمنت، الأشياء اللي كانت بتكون أقرب. ممكن نقول برضو بالنسبة لموضوع أوروبا الوسطى الشرقية إلى جانب مناطق الشرق الأوسط والخليج، ممكن نشتغل على تعزيز التعاون من خلال التركيز على تطوير البنية التحتية، المواءمة التنظيمية، تشجيع الابتكار، إنشاء ممرات تجارية سلسة. ممكن نشتغل على موائمة المعايير، ودي بتساهم بشكل فعال واضح في سلسلة التوريد العالمية. أحب أضيف كلمة أكد بها برضو مستقبل التجارة هيكون في أفريقيا، تأكيدا على كلام الإخوة اللي شاركوا معانا وتأكيدا على كلام معالي السلطان أحمد دينار. بنفتكر الفرص اللي موجودة في أفريقيا الآن وكيف إحنا نقدر نربطها برضو مع السوق النامي اللي موجود في تركيا. أنا شاكر ومقدر للفرصة اللي أتيحت لنا وأسنح الفرصة لمشاركة آخر. أشكر.
Thank you, Al-Muhab Zaim El-Abden. Yes, definitely we will continue to talk also the effect of the electronic commerce, e-commerce, e-exports for the future of the trade. Our last panelist is Dr. Nadia Shaib. So I'm absolutely sure that Lebanon has also too many important experience about nearshoring, friendshoring, and also the redesigning of the global trade. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and I want to thank above all ICP and Mr. Jenkins Bey and my dear friend Gozde from GT Global for inviting me for this wonderful forum. Actually, let me explain from my point of view, which is a different sector because we are more in the service sector. So indeed, even though till 10 years ago, the logistics was, whenever we say supply chain, we would think rather logistics. However, today, whatever we are delivering is definitely we need to improve and to optimize our supply chain. So coming from the health sector, actually what we do basically at the Clean Group, we are the people behind the scene that makes your drug at the pharmacy, because we go through all the health research and development processes with the pharmaceutical and the biopharmaceuticals for 15 years behind the scene till the day that you find it on the shelves in the market, etc. And the same for the hospitals when you are seeing an improvement for the medical equipments, for the medical practices, and so on. This is what basically we do behind the scene to get to the patient access for better treatment all the way. So within this, indeed, our experience started in Lebanon and in France, but it's basically with the change of the processes within our sector of activity. We started observing because basically in our activities, there are international standards, because typically everything needs to be validated by the Food Drug Administration, or the EMEA in Europe, etc. So everything has been harmonized through standards over 30 years ago now, with the international concept of harmonization. And from that time, things started, to be like a market opportunity for our region, because the patient is here, so wherever the patient is, the health system needs to follow and to tailor even to the need. That's why today we talk even about patient centricity, because we need to focus everything that is central about the patient. Why I'm saying this? Because even though the big innovation and the research and development in the pharmaceutical and in the health industry sectors come mainly from the North America and Western Europe and Japan, etc. Despite all, since the patient is everywhere in the world, since the last 20 years, we started observing the need for this emerging market development, even in terms of knowledge transfer and technology. Having said this, came, the fact for the capacity building needs, and throughout the process, because in difficulties lie opportunities always. So the inflation of some countries made our region even quite attractive within the R&D processes of the developed countries, the main or the first rank developed countries, made our countries as attractive also to outsource and to increase the outsourcing processes throughout the chain of the research and the development. That's why the offshoring is applicable in every kind of our processes in research and development. And that's why, exactly like Mr. Haroon was saying, we need to multiply the diversity and the specialty, because we observe today with even the competency skills, because we are in the service sector, even in the competency skills and the culture-related skills in our region, that there are some specificity within the processes that we are able to outsource and to build the capacities in such or such region. This is what is Clean Group doing now since 22 years, that we work over, with several offices, and but basically in over 50 countries, because throughout the process from A to Z, till the drug is on the market or in the pharmacy, or till that medical equipment, or till that hospital is up to the international accreditation, there are many things throughout the supply chain that could be outsourced and built, and this is what is happening today by building the team within a project management that is allocating and building expertise per tasks within the process. So this is overall. We'll talk, in the second on more how to improve it from the service expertise. However, this is a global picture that is definitely room for a big market today in our region.
Many thanks.
Thank you.
You are absolutely right. maybe we mostly talk, especially the international trade of goods, but there is a very strong reality that, especially after the global pandemic, we have to understand that the international relations for the service industry, and especially health industry, is so important. So that's why I am absolutely sure that we will continue the benefits of the collaboration for health industry for the future, especially on our region.
Yesterday, they took it off. That's why we just yesterday opened a new office in Turkey.
Thank you. I would like to thank all our panelists. After our panel, we will continue from the other part of the Atlantic. In the next panel, they will discuss the climate for investment and trade in US. And I would like to say that some big countries like continent countries like China or India or US, trading with these countries, it's absolutely different compared to our countries, more some kind of a one-state countries. So I think that this panel will be also interesting. But what we understood from that panel, it's absolutely sure that we are on a way of new trends for nearshoring, friendshoring, reassuring, but we will see how these trends will be in reality. It depends absolutely maybe with the countries who will do bilateral or multilateral engagements in the regions, and especially we have a very big mission for Africa too. Last word, under the OECD, there is a big work at that moment for a new kind of a research center, how we can increase or much better the climate atmosphere of Africa, and also perhaps change the rate and note system of Africa, because this is also another difficulty for Africa. There is some standards for Africa. Probably at the end of this big work, maybe we will change also the rating model of Africa too. I hope we can succeed in the next 5 years. Yes, please.
I think the important point that I left out is that Africa has now got a new free trade agreement, which is the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. And 54 countries have now signed the trade agreement, and there's only one left. But that would mean that there's, in the next 5 years, that unifying of standards will start emerging. And that's going to make trade with Africa very easy, much easier. And of course, export will be much easier. So there's a lot of opportunity also in the pharmaceutical business, where there'll be one registration. If you register in one country, they'll be recognized by all the countries. So that's some very interesting developments, almost like the EU had maybe 25, 30 years ago. So it's very, very exciting.
Once more, I would like to thank, please.
We do a lot of agro processing in Africa, in West Africa. That's another way of nearshoring, and geo-shoring to help each other. And we employ more than 18,000 people, so that's great help for these people who had no jobs in remote areas. So,
thank you. Once more, I would like to thank all your very valuable remarks, and we finalize our panel. I saw one question. Maybe we will finalize our panel with one question, if we have a microphone. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think I will I want to ask also my question in Arabic. If you بالعربي حقيقة نحن كشعوب دول المنطقة نعتقد أيضا أن دولة مثل السودان التي يطلق عليها أنها تملك سلة الغذاء العالمي يمكن أيضا أن تساهم في ربط العلاقات فيما يتعلق بالخدمات ما بين دول الغرب ودول أفريقيا وأيضا ودول شمال أفريقيا. أنا كنت حقيقة في زيارة قريبة إلى كوريا الجنوبية وعلمت أن كوريا تستورد من المغرب أفضل أنواع من الزيوت اللي هو زيت الأرجان، وهذا الزيت هو اللي تعتمد عليه كوريا في كل المواصفات اللي هي الصناعات المتعلقة بالكوسماتكس وشيء يتعلق أيضا بالكريمات الخاصة والغالية الثمن. أنا أقترح على هذا المؤتمر الهام لمؤتمر البوسفور أن يتم التركيز على دول أفريقيا. دول أفريقيا هي المستقبل التي قد تكون هي نعم دول أفريقيا هي التي قد تغذي العالم مستقبلا. هذه الدول لديها من الإمكانيات. أنا أيضا كنت قريبا في زيارة إلى بوروندي وإلى رواندا، لقيت أن هذه الدول لديها إمكانيات فيما يتعلق بالاستثمار الزراعي، إمكانيات هائلة، ولكن ينقصها الخبرات الدولية أن تدخل وتحاول أن تساعد هذه الدول، لأنها في المستقبل نحن حاليا كشعوب نعيش كلنا في إطار شعوب متحابة ومتلاحمة، ولكن الأمن الغذائي يظل هو محور التنمية في كل الأوقات. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much. I promise that we will be very proactive for Africa. I would like to share that under the OECD, Turkey, our country, is the most strong contributor and also voluntary contributor exactly for all Africa works. Many thanks for these comments. You would like to say?
I would like to answer him, and I would like also to give him a good news for the next audition for Bosphorus Summit. It will be with more African countries. We are expecting to be 7 countries from East Africa, and we would like to expand that to the West African, Central African. So we know there is a big opportunity and huge chance to invest in Africa. Africa, it has a lot of resources also. It has very good logistics area. They have very good law for investments. So there is borderless. If I give just East Africa as example, from Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, there is borderless. So you can manufacture in Kenya and then you export to Uganda with free tax. So I also would like to link the market in Turkey with East Africa, because we believe also there is a good opportunity for Turkey to expand for globalization, trade. So it will be a good opportunity. I will promise you, you will see next year more African in this event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much to all our distinguished panelists and moderator. I would like to invite Mr. Sir Iqbal on stage to present the Koçul letters. Thank you, sir. Here are the letters. 3 saplings have been planted on your name to a forest by the UIP ICP team. So we thank you. This is a token of appreciation, maybe a small one, but it means the world to us. So thank you for your participation and patience.
That's for the professor.
And maybe we can have a group photo for our photographers. Thank you very much again. We will proceed with our next panel. We will go to the overseas this time, but we will give some time for our panelists. Tamam, hadi yapalım. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Teşekkür ederiz. Lütfen. Çok sağ olun. Ellerinize sağlık. Çok teşekkürler. Thank you very much.
Sorry? Wow, thank you. Wow, I'm so lucky.